Greetings, friends. What's going on? Welcome back to the YRU Laughing podcast. I am your host, the sad kid with the glasses that lives down the street, wears a stupid flower hat, and gets to interview some cool people. And right now, we're cracking one open for our for our mutual friend and White Claw lover. But first of all, my guest today, Mr. Kevin TROUT, thank you once again for coming on the show. I appreciate it. It's good to see you, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
Good. Very good. We've been talking I've been pestering you for like the past, I don't even know how long now, to come and do this thing with me, and it means the world that I get to hang and talk with people like you virtually, and just get to really just go around and see how people work. And I've always, ever since I saw your work, I've been a fan. I don't usually follow too many photographers, but as soon as I saw your work, I was like, those are some cool shots. And he really knows what he seems to be doing. How did you get started with all
Thanks,
this?
dude. Oh man. It's kind of a long story, I guess. I don't know. I can give you the short version and
Whatever you want, brother.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, it all kind of happened unplanned, I guess you could say. I've always been into music. That's probably where it got started. I feel like I'm gonna end up just telling you the long version. So
That's cool.
if whatever, you can cut whatever out if you need to. So yeah, I mean, I've always been into music, and when I was in high school, I just wanted to just start playing it for no reason. I didn't own an instrument or anything like that, but I just wanted, for some reason, to just start playing music. And so I bought a bass guitar and just started teaching myself in my room and just listening to the radio and just playing the songs that were on the radio. I didn't know anything about music outside of what was on the radio at all. And a buddy of mine, I was just randomly over at his house one day, and he had a Guitar Center magazine on his desk in the family room. And I was like, "Oh, dude, like, what, do you play something?" And he's like, "Yeah, dude, I play drums. Me and my buddy, he plays guitar, I play drums, and we kind of just jam." I'm like, "Oh man," I'm like, "I play bass." And he's like, "Dude, you're in the band," like just like that. And I'm like, "Wow, yeah." I'm like, "All right, well, I mean, I'm not that good." And he's like, "Whatever, man. We just want somebody to play with." And so it turned into just garage band stuff, not really even doing covers. It was just like originals from like get go and all that.
Oh, wow.
And then just, I kind of just went back and forth with other people, meeting different musicians, and, some bands were, covers, just here's what's cool right now. And some were just originals, and it was kind of just all over the place. So I got really into music. I got really into wanting to go to shows and stuff like that. And so I started doing that. And because I was so into in music and wanting to be in a band that could play with other bands, I was really into, meeting musicians. So I was the kid that would be at the show, 8 hours before doors, and just like hoping that, like, because you would hear like, "Oh, if you go early enough, like the band's literally just like walking around the parking lot."
Not to interrupt you, but I have a story for you that is absolutely key to what you just said. So I just want to remind myself to tell you when we're
Sure.
done.
Yeah, man. And so, it's just like people say that and you're like, well, how true is that? And, you go down to the venue, and then all of a sudden you see, Dave Grohl walking through the parking lot, and you're like, holy shit. Like,
Right.
Dave, hey. And he's, "What's up, man?" I'm like, "Can we get a picture with you?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." Get a picture, say hi, and get a hug. And
Wow.
that's all I really wanted, And then I was like, "Oh, I wonder if it'll work for the next show," And I just started like meeting these musicians. I'm like, "Man, that's pretty rad. Like, it's pretty easy if you just go early, because it's like, what else are they doing? They're literally just there with nothing to do, walking around."
Right.
So I got really into that, man. I'm like, wow, it's super easy to meet these bands and the people that I look up to. I started learning about, underground music, just things that weren't on the radio, with these other bands that I was in. And that's how I got into, kind of the emo type of music. And I think that's what kind of changed the game for me. I met this drummer in high school, and he came over wearing a Saves the Day t-shirt and no idea what that was. And he's like, "Oh, you don't know this band, dude?" And that kind of opened the door to bands like Saves the Day, you know, Thursday, Under Oath, all those Warped Tour type bands.
Thursday's great. Oh,
Yeah, dude. I mean, those bands, I love those bands still. And so I got really into that type of music and really only wanted to play that kind of music, that like pop punk emo, like that type of music was what I was super into. And my buddy that kind of got me into all this stuff was like, "Hey man, you know, there's this tour called the Warp Tour. We should go check it out." I'm like, "All right, let's go."
what year is this?
This is 2003.
Oh wow.
So I had just graduated high school. And so I'm like, "Yeah, dude, let's go check it out." And so we went down there. We didn't go early. He's just like, he's like, "It's kind of a crazy tour, man. Like they're just sometimes just like walking around during the day, you know, and it's different than obviously a normal show, where, you know, even in the mornings and stuff, they're still all inside. So it's kind of pointless to go early anyways." So
Right.
we, you know, went to the show, and it was like bands like Sum 41, The Used, you know, those bands. They
Wow.
kind of recycle the same bands every year.
Yeah.
But you know, The Used and Sum 41 was huge at the time.
Oh yeah.
And
Early
so
2000s.
yeah, I remember I met the lead singer of Sum 41, and he was on this other side of the chain link fence, and I'm like, "Holy shit, there he is, dude!" And I'm like, I put my ticket through the chain link fence, and he signed it, and I have pictures of him signing it, and
That's so sick.
I'm like, "Oh, that's so cool, dude! Like, hell yeah!" And then Bert from The Used was walking around, said hi to him, and I'm like, "Oh, this is crazy, dude! Like, I'm meeting everybody." And then it was kind of like nearing the end of the day, me and my buddy, we were just sitting on the curb, and I saw this lady kind of coming from the distance, and it looked like she was looking at me. And you know, I feel like I'm making eye contact with her, but as soon as she gets to, you know, she's standing and I'm sitting, she asks these girls next to us, and she's like, "Hey girls, I'm looking for, you know, a couple volunteers to come backstage and serve dinner to the bands, and you get a backstage pass and all this stuff." And I was like, "Oh dude, like we want to do it." And she's like, "Well, you know, I kind of, you know, want girls to do it
Looking
and
for
all this stuff."
chicks.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like begging, dude. I'm like, "Please, like, we'll do it." And she's like, "No, girls." And they're obviously like super down to do it. She's like, "All right, but I only need two of you." And there was three of them. And they're like, "Oh, we don't want to split up, dude. We don't want to do it anyways." And she's like, "Screw it, dude. You two can come help us." So me and my buddy go back there, and dude, we're just like literally like serving mashed potatoes to like all these bands that we'd seen all day. And we're just like, "Oh shit, dude, look, there's, you know, there's The Offspring. I can't remember. There's No Effects, you know, there's like all
What
these other
a
bands. And we're just like,
oh
holy
my
shit."
god. That's
And
amazing.
so, yeah, I've never been, you know, backstage or whatever. And so she's like, after we did it, that was only like, I don't know, an hour and a half of work. And she's like, "All right, here's your passes." And we're like, "Well, what is this? Like, now what?" And she's like, "Just basically just don't be an idiot, you know, like don't abuse this privilege.
Right.
And you'll be fine." We're like, "All right." She's like, "You know, go, you can go on stage. If they let you up there, just, you know, they'll pick people." And we're like, "All right." So there was really only a couple bands left. And I'm like, "Dude, let's go see Pennywise." And so we go over, they're one of maybe even the last band that played that night. And we're kind of just behind the main stage, and we're just like, "Hey, can we come up there?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, no, come on up." So we're up there, and like now we're on stage, and I'm like, "Holy shit, this is like what just happened?" I literally went from being out there sweating all day, and now I'm like standing up here like looking out my friends, and I'm like, "This is crazy." And so they're playing their set, and then their last song, this song called Broham, is playing. And all of a sudden, like people are kind of like pushing, and I'm like, you know, like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "Oh, you know, for this song, like they just let all their friends like come out on stage and jump around and sing and, you know, just get crazy." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "All right." So I'm like, kind of still don't know what to do, looking around, like shuffling my feet forward. The singer grabs me, his arm puts it around my neck, and dude, we're singing the song together in his microphone. And I'm just like, "Holy shit, dude.
That is
Like,
so baller.
this is crazy, dude. This is
Wow.
like the best day of my life."
Just from standing there and like not knowing anybody, that is phenomenal.
Mhm.
Wow. What a break. That's so
So,
cool.
dude, it was crazy. And so as soon as that set's done, me and my buddy, we like run back to catering, and we're like, dude, the next show is in LA. We're like, can we go to LA? We want to do the same thing. We'll do whatever you need us to do. We just want access again, like we just had. We want to experience this like an all day thing. And she's like, yeah, sure. So we ended up going to 13 shows. We just packed up. He had a Ford Taurus. We just threw a bunch of shit in his Ford Taurus, and we went up the West Coast. We came back down. We went through Texas. I think we finished in Texas somewhere, and we're like, all right, dude, we got to get back to our fucking lives. So we did 13 shows in 2003. And then that kind of was it. We're just like, oh shit, dude, like what? We got to do this next year. How are we going to get on this tour? This has all my favorite bands. Everyone on this tour is like amazing. And I want to be a part of this. So, we tried to get jobs, anything. We would have done anything, and nothing really opened. It's kind of like the same crew every year. It's kind of weird because everyone really seems to hate it during it, but in the off season, everyone's looking forward to being back out on the road.
Right.
So we're like talking with catering. They're really our only, connection to the whole thing. And we're like, all right, then, if, thanks for, looking and trying to help us out. Is it cool if we just like follow the tour and just do what we did last year? And they're like, yeah, sure.
Wow.
Totally didn't believe us at all. But me and my buddy, we bought a van. I reached out to my brother's best friend's dad. This is 2004 now. I said, don't you have like a video camera? I want to film this, dude. It's like really fun. And I want to be able to like watch this when I get home, again, no experience filming. I didn't know how to edit. I wasn't a photographer at all. And so I grabbed this guy's video camera. We went to, Target or whatever, and bought as many high 8 tapes as we could. And then we were off, dude. We showed up in Houston, and the catering company was just like, oh shit, you guys are
You're here.
You guys are serious. You're here. Yeah. This is crazy. Let's get you guys some better credentials, because we just kind of had these like these day passes that were stickers or whatever. So they took us immediately over to, whatever it's called, I don't know, the main trailer or whatever. We got our pictures taken. We got it laminated with like real passes, and like we were basically an unpaid part of this crew now. And we're like, wow. And so our job now turned into, you guys go find the volunteers that want to come back here. And we're like, okay. And so, yeah, that kind of what started it. Oh, I missed a piece. I'm going to back up real quick. Before going out on this tour, buying a van was most of our money, knowing that gas and, food during the day would probably be taken care of because of catering. But like, where the hell are we going to stay? Are we seriously just going to live in this van all for summer long, 3 months or whatever? And my buddy's like, dude, you need to get on MySpace. There's this website. It's called MySpace. And you, I think, would do well on MySpace. And I'm like, all right, whatever that means.
How funny is it that people are going to listen to this later and be like, what the heck is that?
They're like, when did this episode come out?
Excuse me? My what? Is that a porn?
I know. Yeah, I know. Now it is kind of, I think. I don't know. Anyways, I know, man. It's like, yeah, that's so funny. That's how long ago it started. So he uploaded some pictures for me, and what was crazy about, MySpace at the time, before Facebook, website,
before everything really,
was you could search by zip codes. So you could literally just throw in a zip code, and it'd be like, here's all the people in this area. And I'm like, oh shit, all right, I'm gonna do this for every single city we're going to, and I'm literally just gonna copy and paste the same message to everybody. So I would, look up Houston. I'll be like the first, girls only, and then like I'd go through the first like 10 pages of people, just copy and paste, and then basically saying, hey, we're on this tour. Kind of gave them the spiel of what we were doing. We just need a place to stay and all this stuff. And I'm not even kidding, man. We had a place to stay in almost every city. People we've never met, and they're just like, yeah, dude, stay with us. And we're like, wow. Oh shit, okay.
Yeah.
So we almost, there were some nights we had to stay in the van because some of these drives are like 400 or 500 miles, and it's just like you're basically just driving till the morning and then just doing it all over again. So there's, you don't have to stay at a house every night because of those situations. But
Sure.
so you meet crazy people, man, and it's
Oh
in a
yeah.
good way. You crazy amount of people.
Yeah.
So we started staying with these people and, getting them into the shows, and they would help us out. And, it kind of turned into a thing where every year it's like you just hit the same people up every time, or you'd meet somebody new in that city from the year before. And that was like crazy. We never really had to pay for lodging or anything like that. And so we didn't, living in a van wasn't the worst thing. It was almost kind of nice just to do that every once in a while. Let's just sleep in the van tonight, dude. Let's just, you and me, man,
Sure.
let's sleep in the van. So 2004 happens, everything's going good. And I'm noticing people, coming through the catering line, kind of trying to connect the dots of like, dude, were you like filming us earlier? And I was just like, not knowing what to say. I'm like, oh shit, I'm busted.
Right.
Is this guy going to tell me to burn the tapes? Like, what the hell is going
You
on?
got to pay us for this.
Yeah, you got to pay us, man.
Right.
And
Right.
so they're just like, I was like, yeah, man, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was me. I'm sorry. I didn't ask for permission. He's like, no, nobody's ever filmed this before. Multiple people are saying this because I was filming a lot of the smaller bands, these like screamo side stage bands. And I'm just like, they're like, nobody's ever filmed this before. Can I see the footage? And I'm like, sure. And I, showed them the footage. I'm filming this on like a piece of shit camera, by the way. This is not like a film camera at all. This is like a Sony Handycam camera.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, this is awesome footage, dude. Like, seriously, feel free to film this whenever you want. Like,
Wow.
just full on permission. And then all of a sudden now we're on stage filming, just like filming the sets every single day. Just, we got tons and tons of footage. So 2004 ends and we're like, dude, I'm like, we have tons of footage. What are we going to do with it all? We could like make something. We have so much footage. We have to learn how to edit. So then I bought an iMac. It comes with iMovie. And I just started teaching myself how to edit. And that's when it hit me. I'm like, dude, what we should do is film us on this tour every year. And then in between, we make a documentary. And then the next year, we sell the previous year's documentary while making the next one. And we're just like, oh, great idea. Let's do it. He had a buddy that went to film school. Let's bring a third guy on because me just filming one other person's like stupid, but me filming two people is less stupid, kind of. Let's bring this guy on. And he taught us all about cameras, dude. He's like, these are the types of cameras you should use, this and that and whatever. So that's when we really threw down some money and bought two, nice cameras. And then our footage looked that much better. And
Oh yeah, the difference in cameras is godlike. I mean, especially for back then, to now,
oh
you
yeah,
think it's like what a difference.
what a difference. And this was big time. This was going from like a handheld, dad camera to like this shot 24 frames a second. It looked like film and it was just like
Right.
super sick. And I'm like, oh my God, you could adjust the frame rates and make shit look, these like high energy bands just looked really rad.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, dude, it literally just turned into an instant job. These bands were like, this footage is sick. Come out on tour with us now. And so
Wow.
then we just started touring with bands and making stuff for, their DVDs or whatever they wanted, live footage for whatever. And yeah, it literally just turned into a job. And photo has never really been something that I think I'm better at filming than I am taking photos, but it does seem like I get more photo jobs than video jobs.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
which whatever, dude, like whatever's going to get me the job and, just being around the environment. Cause it's just, for me, it's just so inspiring
Oh
to be
yeah.
around music and watch people create music. It's really amazing to kind of document that and capture that.
I've had Mike Chaparri on this podcast, owner of SJC Drums. For those who don't know, sweetheart of a guy, awesome. And he was telling me when he was in his band No Trigger that when they were doing Warp Tour and like when he was doing like the drum techs and stuff for Warped Tour. It's a whole another world. So it's funny that you say that about the guys who are, you know, they're kind of dreading doing the job, but then they're ready to go back the next year. I feel like that's kind of the same thing where you're just it's just another world and you're so hyped to be there. I got to go to one and I got to go to the last one. I was like, I have to go.
Oh, you went to the
I
last.
went to the last one.
Nice.
I was so happy, and you know, I saw Simple Plan. They were at closing the show. Phenomenal, absolutely
Yeah, dude.
phenomenal. But when let me ask you a question. So when you're in high school, and this is happening all in like your late teens and early 20s, what
Yeah.
was your admiration then? Like when you were in high school, did you know what you wanted to do back then, or was it just like, hey, I'm gonna try
No, I
different
mean,
things? What were you thinking?
I had no idea, and I honestly didn't think about it at all. I mean, in high school, I took like one photo class in high school, but it was just like a film camera. You develop the film in class, and it's like go out during this period and take a picture of like the quad. Somebody's sitting in the quad. And I'm just like this stupid elective, like this lame. And so I don't know. I mean, I took it, and it didn't. Who knows if it like taught me anything, but definitely didn't think of that as a career at all.
Right.
And I mean, I was mowing lawns during high school, and even after high school. I went to a junior college for a couple of years. And I'm like, what am I like? What's the plan? Like,
Right.
no idea. I was just going to school because they were supposed to do that. And I was just mowing lawns. I'm just like, mowing lawns is pretty cool. It like, pays cash under the table, and I can listen to music all day and just like nobody bothers me. And I'm like, I was
Right.
fine with doing that for a couple of years. But once traveling, and with my best friend and listening to the my favorite bands all day long, I was like, damn, this is tight, dude. I'll just mow lawns all year, save up, buy a van. And we ended up doing it for, 2003 we did it, 13 shows. We did all of 2004, 2005, 6, and 7. And then that's when we stopped. That's when I was like, all right, dude, I need a real job, and I can't just do this every summer. I love it, but I can't. But yeah, like you, I would go when it came to San Diego and stuff. Sometimes working, sometimes just going to hang out. But I did go to the last one also, and it was kind of sad, dude.
It was sad. It was very sad.
It was a great lineup. I mean, the
Oh
same
yeah.
bands, which is like blows my mind. Just like watching the Used, and I'm like, wow, dude, like this is crazy. Seeing the Used like play it, the final Warp Tour, and
Right.
I don't know. It was just, I'm like, this is why I do what I do. That tour just means so much to me.
I was gonna
So
say, I can
it's
imagine for you, it'd probably be kind of surreal to stand there and be like, "Wow, this is where it began all those years ago."
yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
crazy. So let's move up to closer to date when you started doing these films and or filming for the bands and started taking pictures. Was it is it a steady job? Because I look on your Instagram and I see different shots of like different bands and stuff like that. Obviously nobody's touring like regular, like on a basis. It's always kind of spotty. Was there something like that held you while the bands were kind of taking a break from tour? Like, did you do weddings or anything like that? Did you do any kind of anniversary photography, or what were you doing then?
yeah. So I mean, I've done weddings, um, and those are just, man, people that do that full time, like, what a stressful job,
Oh,
dude. That is just
absolutely.
like, oh my
Oh yeah,
gosh,
my buddy
dude.
does it. He's I've never seen anything like it. He goes, I hate doing it, but the money's good and I can't complain.
The money's really good, dude, but it's just like, man, people are just on edge.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
So I did it for a little while, but this was like, mid to late 2000s, just doing that just to make some money. But no, I mean, I do have a day job. I've been at this place for about 8 years now, and I'm a senior creative director at a behavior change agency here in San Diego.
Oh wow, cool.
It's not as flashy as the music stuff, but it's a cool job, and it helps people. And we do mental health campaigns about opioid abuse, and
Oh
try to
wow.
get kids to stop smoking cigarettes and vapes and all that kind of stuff. So it's a rad job, and it keeps me doing what I'm doing. I get to shoot stuff, I get to edit, I get to direct, all that stuff. And then, the music stuff is just the icing on the cake
Oh
with
sure.
this
Yeah.
profession. And to answer your question, it's never been a stable job at all, which
Yeah.
is kind of the like ebb and flow of these like random jobs, like mowing lawns and shit, just to like save up, just so I can do something for. I mean, this is one of those jobs where would do it for free. The fact that I get paid to do it is like crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously no bands were touring the last couple of years. However, what was happening was this band Angels and Airwaves was making a new album, and they wanted to get some pictures and video. And that's like I'm saying about the spontaneousness of this, that it turned into, hey, can you come into the studio? I mean, I don't know how familiar are with your listeners are with that band, but
Oh yeah.
so okay,
They know.
Aaron Rubin hit me up, who's the producer on this new record and Alon's brother. Me and him go way back, and he hit me up. He's like, hey, me and Alon are in the studio a couple days before we track some drums for Angels. Can you come in? Like, we just want to get some stuff with you. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm in the studio doing some, just filming him doing some drum stuff for whatever he was doing. It was a really cool studio here in San Diego. And on the wall, it's like, oh, dude, here's like this Blink Platinum album. Here's this Blink Platinum album. Here's a gold album from Blink. And it's just like, wow, this is
So
like where
sick.
they recorded all this stuff, and it's like crazy to be in that room. So I'm sitting there, taking some pictures and filming Alon. And then
So I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but what year is this?
this is last year,
This is last year.
or
Okay.
or maybe it was 2 years ago, dude. Was it
Oh,
like,
2019 was when Rebel Girl came out.
okay, yeah. So they went back into the studio, and like because of COVID, and they're like, now that they had all this time, and I think because what's the point of putting the record out if we can't tour right now? So I think they went back in there and like hash out more of these songs and wrote different verses and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
kind of dissected it again. And so that's the part that I was involved in. So it might have been, I think it was 2020, the very end of it, I think. And so, anyways, I went in there to film Alon for a couple of days, and while I was there, Jimmy, who is Tom's manager, caught wind of that I was there.
Nice guy.
Yeah, me and Jimmy go way back. He's my connection to almost everything that I do in the last over 10 years now musically.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, dude, like you're there. Why don't can you stay the rest of the week? And, Tom's going to be in there. All the instrument, like David's going to come in, and Alon's going to do guitar, and Matt's coming in to do bass. Can you get all that? And I'm like, damn, it's kind of, I'm trying to find time in my day just to, with my regular job. But I'm like, yeah, I can, I can come later in the day. And he's like, just whenever. They're going to be there. They're literally there all the time. I'm like, all right. So I went there, started shooting all that stuff, which was rad I'd never done that before with a band where they're literally just in the room talking about, Tom is like, I want the vibe to be like this, and describe the vibe of how he wants like this song to go. And then Matt's like, all right, cool. How about this? And he's just like jamming out on bass. I'm like, wow, dude, that is exactly how he described it.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt is so good at bass. It's crazy. They'll play a track, and like one time through, and Matt will be like, all right, cool. I got it. I'm ready to go. And I'm like, how do you know how to play this song already?
Yeah.
It's like wild how good that guy is.
Well, that guy's history in music is wild.
I know. And dude, me and him go back because I think it was 2004 when I did Warped Tour. my favorite band on the tour was Taking Back Sunday, and he was
So
in it at the
awesome.
time.
Oh
And
man,
so when I
that's
walked into the
great.
room, he was just like looked at me, and I'm like, I don't think this guy, like, I don't think this guy's gonna have any clue who I am. And he's like, you look familiar. And I'm like, Warped Tour. And he's like, that's right, dude. That's where I know you from. I'm like, all right, cool. You kind of remember me. Uh,
Sweet. Did you know
yeah.
Blink back in those days? In like the early,
So
like it was 2003, 2004 was kind of the end of the first time,
yeah. So
which
no,
sucked.
I was definitely a fan, but I hadn't started doing anything for Tom till probably 2006.
Gotcha.
And that's when he had this company, Macbeth, the shoe
Macbeth,
company.
sure. Macbeth of Death.
Yeah. Yep. And so or somebody at that company, that's how, how I met Jimmy too. Somebody was like, hey, reached out to the boss. I was living in LA. They reached out to my boss, who, I don't know how it happened, but they're like, hey, Kevin, Macbeth needs some video help. Can you go down there and interview and see if they like you? And if you want to pick up these like random videos, they need help editing. I'm like, all right. So I go down there, get in an interview or whatever. And then that's when Jimmy walks by, and kind of the same thing. He's like, sees me, and he's just, trying to connect the dots. And I'm like, Warped Tour. And he's like, oh shit, that's right. He's like, this guy's cool, dude. Hire this guy. And so they did.
That's so awesome.
And then, so, me and that was like the day I'm like, all right, dude, Jimmy's cool. I was always intimidated by him because he always seemed like high up on the Warped Tour. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, he's not in a band, but he's just always here walking around. And
Right.
then now I'm
Right.
seeing him in the office at Macbeth, and I'm like, okay, this guy's around. So yeah, he's just been so nice to me for many years now. But
Wow.
yeah, so I got hired to just start editing videos, and that has been kind of the gist of like that relationship. I've just been the local go-to guy, I feel like, since like 2005, 2006 with
Right.
Macbeth, and then with Tom, and To the Stars and all kinds of
Sure.
stuff.
Now, when he went back out on tour with Blink in '09, did you go out with him?
I didn't go out with them, but I did film a couple shows. And it was specifically for Macbeth. It'd be like, okay,
Right.
we want you to just basically follow him from the trailer, like film his feet all the way to the stage, and then film the show. So it'd be like doing a couple shows like that. And I'd be like, fuck yeah, dude, I'll
Oh,
definitely drop
absolutely.
whatever I have to do that. Um, so those shows were like crazy.
I
Those
bet.
were rad.
I
Um,
bet.
but yeah, so that was kind of it, with me and Blink, just doing a few shows for Macbeth and stuff, but I'll take it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at that time, for those who don't know, it was like from. I mean, I don't want to speak for any of the guys in the band, but for me as a fan, from like '99 on, it was a revolution. Like that history of like punk and sort of hardcore mixing together, like the pop stuff that we were talking about. It was music unlike anybody had heard before. So when bands like Blink and Sum 41 and Simple Plan, like all these guys that really had such a powerful influence, especially during like the Warped Tour days, it was a movement that was unlike anything else, and it was playing everywhere. You couldn't avoid it. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy for you that you got to be a part of that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's been rad. And Tom's just been he's incredible at writing music, dude. So
Oh, he is. Yeah.
fortunately, I've been into every band he's done. Like Boxcar, obviously, that was a one-time thing, and that was before my time
Yeah.
uh, in this profession. But all the Angel stuff, dude, from that first, the Adventure, that first single they put
Yeah.
out, I
We
was
don't need
like,
to whisper.
yeah, I was like, all right, man, this guy didn't make a bad decision in starting this other band. It was solid. I'm a
Yeah.
little surprised it didn't blow up like I think everyone else had thought, but he writes good music, man,
Sure.
and I like being around it, and like seeing how he writes music and all that stuff. It's been fun.
So I'm going to tell you the story that I've told on this podcast
Yes.
probably more than anything else, because it was. I thought I was gonna have a heart attack. I didn't know what was happening. So like you, this is 2019 for their comeback. Like, they haven't toured in 7 years. They're coming back. I'm like, I have to go. My brother-in-law is a ticket broker. Shout out Blair Richardson, Ticket Preserve. Go check him out. Love you, Blair. So I'm elated. Just in general, I get to go to the show. I'm going to Boston, which I always go to Boston because I live up in New Hampshire. So I'm going to the Paradise. Small club, perfect venue. I get there 7 hours early, Kev. 7 hours, okay? For those of you who really want to know, listen to my friend here. He knows what he's talking about. Show up early. So I get there, and I'm in a band at the time. For like 8 years, I was in a band, and I brought this bag. The bag had a t-shirt, a sticker, and my record, and a note for Tom. Like, just, I was like, maybe I'll meet somebody who knows him. Little did I know, I'm standing there. The buses are already there. I'm standing there. I go inside the pizza place because it is hot. It's September, but the sun was just beaming down. I got sunburned on my head. It hurt. So I went inside. I got I got a slice and I got some water, and I go back out after I finish. And who's walking out at the same time that I'm going back in the line? And it's Tom. I basically start shaking because there's not a soul on the street besides us. And he comes right up to me. And Kev, he was exactly who I wanted him to be. He was so sweet. We took a picture. We talked for a little bit. And he took the bag. He was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." And I was just like, "Yeah, thank you." And first of all, the guy's like 90 feet tall. So it's like, you feel like you're hugging a building. And you know how I knew that he was exactly who I wanted him to be is because he went back inside. I'm like, I can't believe this just happened. Next thing you know, he comes back out. He opens the door. He goes, "Sam!" And I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" And he goes, "I'm going for a walk." And I was like, "All right." I said, "Can I buy you a beer?" He goes, "No, I don't drink much anymore, but thanks for asking." He turned around and walked away, and I was like,
That's awesome, dude.
and it was the coolest thing. It was like, I never could have asked for anything in the world other than to have him come on this show, which I would die. So
Yeah.
But no, it's like those types of guys in the music that they play. It's like when it means that much to you as a fan, and I'm sure you'll agree, to have these guys be that person in real life instead of that you thinking that they're some huge celebrity. It's like, it's not the case. They feel just as elated to play music as you feel listening to it. So that's the story, and you people have no idea what I'm talking about. No.
Dude, that's wild. Well, while you told that story, I pulled up a photo. This is not, this says March 15th, 2003. I don't know if it's going to show on here, but.
I'm sure.
Oh, shit, it's blurry. How do I turn this blur off? Not that it even matters, dude, but unblur my background. Me and Travis.
Oh, my gosh.
And this is just one of those moments, dude, of like, look at our outfits.
Oh, look at the shorts.
Wow.
Yes.
You got the dickies.
That's when Travis had hair.
Yeah, dude. So it was like moments like this, dude. You just show up early, and this was the same day I freaking met. Do I even have that photo on here? I won't look for it. That was the same day I met Dave Grohl.
Wow.
It was like the Transplants and the Foo Fighters were playing a show.
Oh man, that must have been.
And I got to meet both of them. It was wild, dude. Right. But yeah.
Oh man, so I'm so happy talking to you. This is great. So fast forward to now, you're doing the Angels Project with, I mean, they're obviously their new life. Excuse me, their new album Life Forms is out, and it's amazing. Peter McKinnon is doing their documentary, which is infinitely beyond anybody's expectations if you know who Peter is and if you've seen his work and how phenomenal he is at what he does. Were you any part of that kind of project, or like?
So no, I wasn't. And when I heard that he was doing that, I was super excited. I was just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
thank God it's at least somebody that I admire. And then, I'm not like upset that it was somebody that like I could have done better than that guy. Because Peter's just a guy that I've been following forever.
Sure.
I've never met him, but I follow him. He, puts out amazing YouTube videos all the
Mm.
time. I look at all the stuff. He even just recently put one out, which like blew my mind. He had, I can't remember the guy's name, another guy on with him talking about like how to make a documentary because they were
Mm.
talking about the Angels documentary. And it was just such a great, I don't know if it was an interview, but it was just them talking about, this guy telling Peter, like, basically you just need to like lock yourself in a room and start making this because you can't dabble in all these other things and make a documentary. You got to just kind of do it. And he's like, yeah, I figured that's what you're going to say. But yeah, that guy's just so busy. And so, no, I didn't, wasn't a part of that or anything. But when they went on this last tour, they had like a secret show in San Diego before they started the tour. It was kind of like a dress rehearsal thing or whatever. And they wanted me to come and take pictures and stuff. So I was there and Peter McKinnon was there. And I was like,
Wow.
whoa, dude. I'm like starstruck. I'm like, wow, this guy, like I look up to this guy and like, whatever. I'm like, I'll go say hi. We had actually been shooting a little bit. We had already shot the show. And so the show was over, but people were just like hanging out and stuff. And obviously I'm sure he had seen me because we were like shoulder to shoulder in the pit and all this stuff. There was no way to get to the pit, the barricade between the stage and the crowd. So we had to go from backstage and crawl under the stage to like pop up. And so we were kind of like figuring out how to do it. And he turned his flashlight on. He's like, let's go, dude. So we both like went under there and shot the show together. And I was like kind of going back and forth between taking pictures of the band and then taking pictures of like Peter taking pictures of the band because I'm like, whoa, dude, this is like
I can't believe
wild.
I'm here.
Yeah. And so then after, after that set, we went back there and I introduced myself. I'm like, hey man, like I just wanted to say hi. He had again just put out another video about I forget what it was, but it was something super inspiring that he's just super inspiring to me. And so he just put out this video and I had been thinking about this quote over and over that he was saying. And so I told him that I'm like, I've been filming, with Tom for such a long time now. And, I really look up to your stuff. I watch all your videos and, you recently put out this video, you said this, and it's just, it means a lot to me. He's like, oh dude, he's like, that's so rad. He's like, what's your Instagram? He pulls up his phone, finds me, adds me. And he's like, let's be buddies. And I'm like, hell yeah, dude.
Wow. That's super sweet.
And so, yeah, now it's like, he'll comment on my stuff and, all that. And I'm just like, wow, dude, that was crazy, dude. Like, I don't know, man. Not everyone's cool. And,
No, I
it
know.
really just takes one person to be a dick where you just are going to assume that everybody else is the same way. And it really, it just sucks to have that happen to somebody you look up to.
Yeah, it puts a sour taste in your mouth for like the next person where you're like, oh my gosh, is this guy gonna be a jerk and am I gonna be happy here? I understand.
Yeah, and I get it, man. It's hard to be nice to everybody.
Sure.
You don't know, every day is different. You don't know what they're going through. It could have just been a bad day. You don't know. But, with those two examples, Tom and Peter, I guess I caught them on their good days those first times. But
Right.
dude, it's really cool meeting somebody you look up to and them being nice or just saying, hi back to you, not just like, oh, dude, I gotta go, see ya. And,
Right.
not that I'm trying to sit there and talk their ear off. I just literally just want to say, hi, nice meeting you, dude. Like, I look up to you.
Sure.
And with both guys, it's been rad, dude.
So I mean, I guess, kind of to wrap this thing up. I know you have your busy schedule and stuff like that. Is there anything that you've learned that you could kind of pass on to maybe an aspiring photographer or a videographer or somebody that wants to go outside their shell but doesn't know if they can? Is there anything that you can sort of pitch to them that would be helpful or something that you've learned along the way?
Well,
Besides being proactive and getting out there,
yeah,
showing up 7-8 hours early because we're cool like that.
Yeah, does that still work? I don't know, man. It's been like been almost 20 years since I've been doing that. Fuck. Um, I don't know. I guess just, be patient. I mean, I know for me, it kind of happened before I even knew that I wanted to do that. But like, I'm telling you, man, if you would have told me that if I would stick with this, then I'd be shooting with Tom, like,
Right.
there's no way that I would have believed you, man. There's no way if you would have told me in high school, guess what? You're going to be taking pictures at Tom's wedding. I've been like, the fuck are you talking about? And then, it happens and you're just like, wow, this is wild, man.
Right.
I don't know. I honestly, I, everything that I shoot for music is always more about how fun it is than what it's paying.
Right.
The people that can survive and do that professionally as like their full-time job, like that is a hustle right there, man.
Yeah, hats off, really.
So if that's what you're trying to do, like you gotta grind, dude. It's gonna be really hard work because touring isn't year round. So you gotta be buddies with several bands to keep that going. And always thinking about the next job and stuff is a stressful job. Speaking from a guy that did freelance full time for a while, it's just you're constantly thinking about that next job, and it almost makes the current job that you're working on not fun because you're just like, fuck, dude, what's the next one? Am I going to eat in a week?
Right.
So fortunately for me, I have a day job that's in the same general field as what I do for my hobby. And I kind of just like wait for something, dude. I've never thought that the things that I've done, I would have been able to do. And every time I do it, I'm like, wow, this is a first. I didn't even think of this aspect, but it happened. I didn't even seek out for it. And it happened. Just kind of, I know this is a long answer.
No.
Whatever.
I love it.
It's going back to this, like last year, this COVID thing, man. It's just like, obviously it's a terrible thing and I wish it would have never happened and things would have been normal. But
yeah,
dude, the things that I did with Angels on this last record, I mean, it went from being in the studio, where Blink recorded all their music, which is rad, to going to Tom's house for several days, recording vocals in his garage. He has this closet full of cameras, dude. And it's just like, because he's super into film and stuff.
Oh my gosh,
and so,
he is. Yeah, he's a huge.
So he's showing me all these cameras and stuff, and he's just like, "Oh, you're shooting on a Canon, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, I don't have Canon stuff anymore, so here, have this lens." And he gives me like a $4,500 lens. He's like, "Just give it back when you're done." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I'm just like, "This is wild." And then
that's sick.
I get to go shoot his wedding. It's just like me, him, and his wife. It's the three of us, and I'm just like, "Wow, dude, this is crazy."
That must have been cool.
That was rad. And then they start making all these music videos for the songs that they're going to have come out. And so I'm there kind of shooting photos and some video of that. And I'm like, wow, now I'm doing music, shooting, being part of these music videos and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I didn't think that was going to happen. So shows, studio, weddings, music videos, it's like, I feel like there's not really much left. But yeah, man, it's just patience, and it's really about connections, I think.
Sure.
One connection can get you 100 jobs. And just good work, man. Like, who cares? Like, if this is what you want to do, just do it for free, dude. Just go to whoever's playing at your local venue, just try to get in, just say you have a blog or your Instagram or whatever. Some of these smaller bands, especially local bands, are totally down with you doing it. Just start taking pictures. If you're even decent at all, which most people are, dude, taking pictures, like, it's not that hard. Like, editing's the hard part. You can make a shitty photo look great. And that's, where I lack a little bit.
I do it successfully all the time on my Instagram.
But yeah, dude, just go shoot some bands for free, and dude, maybe they like your shit, and then they'll give you $100 next time they come to town,
Yeah.
and then it just starts, man.
And
So
I bet you doing, which you're to be commended for this, by the way, that that day job that you were talking about. That's, I can imagine that's humbling, and that's helped you to interact better with a lot of people, and really hear their stories and stuff like that. That's a great thing that you're doing. People realize that, or they don't realize rather, that our first job is to be human,
mhm.
and to make those connections, and to have those stories that keep you going. You know, it's like I have this podcast for many different reasons, you know, but one is that I have the memories of the people that I've really enjoyed connecting with, and you know, to wrap it up, I'm happy that you took a chance on me and said, hey, I want to do the show. So I mean, Kevin, really from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it, my friend. Really.
No problem, man. And you weren't bugging me at all. I was in a weird spot, and I didn't want to do it, and I just didn't want to. We had sold our. You like kind of hit me up right when we were selling our house, and I'm like, dude, I have nowhere to do this right now. And then I moved in with the in-laws, and I'm like, I have no idea how long I'm going to be here because I need to buy a house. And then I got the house, and I'm like, March, let's do it, or like February, March, like I think it will be a good time, and we finally did it, man. So thanks for keeping that going.
Kevin, don't you know that I don't care if you're moving? I'm trying to do a show here.
Well, I don't know. It's just like, I don't want you to feel like you were bugging me or anything.
Not at all.
I wanted to do this, and I appreciate you kind of making sure that we did it.
Sure thing. And I hope that people get to hear this, because it's like there's not a lot of stories that are going on like yours, and I hope that it inspires somebody to take a chance and to do something themselves. So plug all your stuff. Like, well, can they find you anywhere? I mean, obviously on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much my my only thing. I don't use Twitter.
We're not on MySpace anymore.
Dude, come on, dude. Back when you could do MySpace, there was a moment where you could change the URL. It was like myspace.com/ and you could customize your
oh yeah, dude, that was a baller site. I had fun on it when it was.
I remember I was on Taste of Chaos, which is like another Warped Tour type of. It was like the winter Warped Tour, and yeah, that came out, and I'm like, all right, dude, like, what are we gonna? Like, me and my buddy, what do we want? Because you had to think about it quick, because you didn't want yours to be taken, and mine ended up being Warped. So it was myspace.com/warped, and it was just
that's cool.
Felt so cool having that one, dude. But no, I'm not plugging that. It doesn't even work anymore.
I know.
Man,
probably Jesus. For good reasons. It's probably a trafficking site now that we don't know about.
Yeah. So no, I'm on Instagram.
Cool.
It's KM Made. And that's pretty much all I use, man. I have my email on there, and you can check out my stuff, and
word.
That's about it.
Word. So you're happy?
I'm happy, dude. Good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I am. Cool.
That's great. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we got to wrap this up. I got to stop talking now. Go check out my friend's photos, and hopefully some more cool projects coming up with Angels and Airwaves. Obviously, the documentary's coming up, which I think we're both hype about.
Yes.
My documentary is being filmed currently. We just did we did another day of shooting the other day. I can't even believe it's happening. I don't know why, but it's but yeah, go check out all my stuff at the Clappinator on YouTube, and check out this podcast, capital YRU Laughing Podcast. And thank you guys for tuning in once again, and we are clear.